Hello, this is Kevin Benedict, Senior Analyst for the Center for the Future of Work at Cognizant. Thrilled to have with me Microsoft's Rob Tiffany, mobile expert, Internet of Things expert, all kinds of expert.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, thanks for being with us.
You're too kind.
Mobility is an area we focus a lot on. Internet of Things we focus a lot on. But where is this really tracking us to?
Sure.
What kind of enterprise is the ideal that a company has today? And let me give some foundation for that. We just did here at Cognizant Center for the Future Work a huge study, and the data that has come in, we surveyed over 2,000 executives, and we said, where are you at today with your digital implementations, and what's the impact on your revenue?
Right.
And what's the impact on your cost? And then we said, if you were doing it right today,
Yeah.
how much improvement would you have? And there was a huge amount of improvement. So what that says is that the executives recognize that today they're not doing what they should.
Right.
And if they were, there's a huge impact both on revenue gain
Sure.
and cost reduction.
It's a lot of unrealized upside.
Unrealized upside, and they
Yeah.
believe that within the next 3.5 years, that's going to like quadruple
Wow.
in many of the technologies, the business impact that is experienced as a result of implementing.
Right. Wow.
So there's a huge kind of vision of where things could go. I look at that and I say, what are they really trying to accomplish then with mobility and Internet of Things?
Right.
To me, it seems like what they're needing is an agile, fast environment that can quickly change and jump wherever consumers are taking them, and they can deliver the right products and services being requested by the consumer instantly.
I couldn't agree more.
That's where they're trying to go. So
Yeah.
what kind of an architecture do they need to be putting in place today to accomplish that vision?
Right. I think to help them be agile, and a lot of people talk a good game around that, but
Yeah.
I see a lot of iterative waterfall still happening out there.
Yeah.
But you're right. Take your cue from the consumer apps that you find in the app stores and that get updated every week or two. There's a reason for that. They're being agile. Operate like those folks. So when you think about your architecture and your enterprise to get you into that space and to be able to do that, break it down into pieces. You've got your systems of record, your database systems, your back-end packages you've used. If those can talk to mobile devices directly, great. If they can't, I want you to wrap them in web APIs. Do that translation of, because they all can't speak. They all speak different languages. They all can't talk to phones or to web or things like that. So wrap that infrastructure in web APIs or use tools that help you do that translations, adapters, connectors. Boy, we've seen a lot of those.
Yep.
Meep.
Mobile application development platforms,
Yeah.
MBAS,
MBAS. There's
platform as a service,
lots of
infrastructure
stuff out there. Lots of stuff out there. Lots
But
of
it goes
Swiss
back-
Army knife things.
Yeah, but it goes back to your earlier advice, which is if you're going to build something, build a platform.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So either move those workloads, if there's new versions that will work with the mobile devices, take them on, move workloads to the cloud if it makes sense for you. If you've got the budget, if you've got the time, you could even do simple things like lift and shift.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a lot of on-premise stuff that maybe you don't want to manage anymore and you want to get out of that business because you want to be agile. So the more you can move your stuff to all these great cloud services
Yeah.
that are now, here we are, it's 2016,
Yeah.
they are absolutely more secure than what you're doing in your own enterprise today. I know that was been the hesitance to move to the cloud for a lot of
Yeah.
people. They're afraid about their data. They're afraid of being hacked. I think we've seen with the daily, weekly hack attacks that happen to all these big companies and the improvements we've seen in the major cloud providers, that the cloud providers are actually doing it better now than you can do on your premise. So think about if you free yourself up, get workloads into the cloud where you can, expose all those workloads with, again, open APIs that any device can talk to, and then you can also separate your workloads with your teams. If you think about your agile development teams, you've got API teams, you've got experts on these back-end systems, experts in databases, and then experts on the front-end stuff. Also, this sounds boring, but start out with make sure you're doing a mobile website.
Yeah.
I know we talk about apps and everything, but every single company needs to at least, you need to tell the world you are open for business.
Yep.
And if people are encountering most places on their phone for the first time or tablets, and you don't have a responsive website that can automatically adjust depending on the screen size, you're going to lose out. When people are showrooming you when someone's in a retail store and you get showroomed, Make sure that you have a website that they can use to showroom
Yeah.
on and get the best advice. So build that responsive website. That's kind of step one.
Yeah.
That talks to those cool APIs. It may not have to. It might just be brochureware. Then start building those mobile apps. Also, be pragmatic about this. There's a lot of great cross-platform development tools out there, but look at what skills you have in your shop now. If you've got Java skills, it makes it easy to do Android development. If you've got Objective-C and Swift and things like that, maybe all the way back to the next days for Objective-C, that makes it easy for the iPhone. The thing is, though, you need to be cross-platform, but you need to be easy cross-platform. And so learning multiple programming languages to target all these platforms, there's nothing agile about that.
Yeah.
If you have a .NET shop, think about going to Xamarin. You get to reuse your .NET skills, target all three major platforms. If you have web skills, think about doing hybrid web apps. Like Apache Cordova, the open source version of PhoneGap. It has a hybrid container, and you use your HTML5, CSS, and JavaScript skills. Do that. Absolutely do that. There's also lots of great other platforms out there that help you accelerate this.
So let's talk about, why does somebody even want to go mobile? Right. Anyway, what is the drive to go mobile? From a high level, it's so that you can access your customers and engage with your customers and employees and partners anywhere at any time.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And to engage, it's not an app, it's data moving back and forth, right?
Yes.
So it means that what you're trying to do is utilize an application and a mobile device, which is a sensor platform, to better understand what's going on in the context, personalize those experiences, and move the right data back and forth to maximize and optimize the user experience so that your business gets the best return, right?
And you called out something years ago that really resonated with me in one of your reports. I think it was the gist of it was these enterprises their infrastructure is wholly unprepared for the onslaught because we talk about this data. It's one thing to get your stuff working with work groups or employees, but as soon as you try to extend your existing systems out to prospective customers, like you're an airline or you're a whatever and you want to reach out to customers, and all of a sudden it's like, oops, I have millions of people using my system. I never dreamed. And my back-end system was built for 5,000 people.
Oh, man.
I'm in big trouble. So there's this, for digital transformation, for BYOD, for reaching out to customers, and then for something that's going to be bigger than all this combined, the Internet of Things, you need to upgrade your infrastructure at your company in a way that's unimaginable. IoT is going to make BYOD seem like small-time stuff. I remember when I first started noticing, I would talk to customers and they go, I don't know what's going on. Our Exchange servers are getting hammered in ways they never were before. And we're running out of DHCP leases all the time, and I don't have enough access points in my company, and my DNS servers are getting pounded. What's going on? Oh, I know. We went from people having one device to having 5 devices, and they're all connected to the same thing at the same time.
Yeah.
So now as we go to IoT, and we have millions or billions of sensors sending telemetry over these same networks and same infrastructure, you got to get ready for that stuff.
Absolutely. So I remember the discussions with SAP, where SAP is like, they want these big individual user licenses.
Okay.
And they're trying to figure out what they do with a mobile user then.
Right.
Because nobody wants to spend $2,000 for somebody to hit SAP with a mobile device.
Right.
So then SAP's like, oh man, how are we going to protect our license revenue, but also support mobility?
Yeah.
And it went on for years.
I bet.
All different kinds of pricing models, proposals. They would propose something, the end user base would reject it, and it went back and forth. It was a huge challenge.
Yeah.
Because again, SAP was not intended, it was intended to be used by 5% of their customers' employees.
Absolutely.
Not the world, not every...
Not the planet,
Not the planet who's going to Walmart's website or something like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So there's a big task there that it's a task you needed to already take on, and you've already, if you're working in IT in a company, you've already seen it, and you were curious about it, and now you know why all your systems are getting pounded on like never before. So you've got to beef up those systems. Again, as I say all the time, where it makes sense, punt those systems up to the cloud and get them out of your network and get that off of your shoulders. You know what else goes along with that? Your intranet. Remember? So the 1990s, the web comes along, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, wow, this is magic. I can start off with static pages for HR and all this stuff, and then I'm building web apps that are doing interactive stuff, and IT got religion on that, and they go, hey, I don't have to deploy apps anymore. And the web took off. So there's all these intranet sites that every company has internally. And because of those intranet sites, you have issues of authentication internally, then extranets and VPN connections to get in the network. Let's turn that inside out and on its head. Take that intranet and move it to the cloud, and use cloud-based standards, use cloud scalability that your intranet can't have, and then your employees will be able to access those things using security that we use everywhere, like OAuth tokens, kind of things like that, instead of having to do a cumbersome VPN connection and stuff like that. Anything to take the load off, because this all goes back to, I want IT to empower business and be this agile machine. And so the more busy work and hassle stuff that you can get off their shoulders and move to the cloud, move to other workloads, that's great. So that you can focus on what's important is agile development around these apps and mobile web apps and things like that. IoT is an interesting thing. I actually got my start in that space. The forerunner to IoT is machine to machine, M to M. And so I did that in the 90s. I literally built vending machines that they were dumb, and we brought them to life, and they were sending telemetry about their inventory and lots of value. And it was really hard.
And that's still what they're talking about today.
It's still what they're talking about today. It's a lot easier today. It was really hard back then. Wireless was horrible, and these machines were pretty dumb. So you had to build your own everything. But today, to get value, a lot of people ask me, what are the use cases for IoT? I don't understand what this is and how. And I'm like, sit back and think about. I think of like operational IoT, industrial IoT. I think about things that there's real-time information, and then there's predictive information. So a lot of the systems, you hear a lot of talk about machine learning and things like that. When you instrument your system, let me just say, let's say you're a manufacturer and you've got equipment, you've got machines on an assembly line or something like that, or you're in oil and gas and you've got pipelines going across the country, or whatever it is. There's the real-time monitoring of those things that are based on simple thresholds. And this isn't hard stuff. You need to get sensors on these devices.
So you know what's going on in the physical world.
Absolutely, because that's what IoT is. We're going to bridge. It's the intersection of the physical and digital world, kind of like you say there. So I'm going to grab that physical information, make it digital, have systems that can scale to handle millions of things potentially.
And that understand what the meaning is of the data coming in.
So there's kind of the simple IoT, which I think of as people are familiar with if this, then that. So a lot of that stuff. If this condition exists, then take this action. If flow in pipeline is too fast because there's too much pressure, then send a command back to the device and slow down
Adjust
the pressure.
The gate.
And there's all things. There's been systems like this for a long time. They're alerting systems. They send you notifications, whatever. They command, they send reports. So there's that kind of 80-20 rule. Most of the time, IoT is going to be that stuff. But then the really interesting stuff will be the machine learning stuff. So those same machines, while they're sending real-time data for you to react to in real time, they're also sending you all these things are instrumented. They're sending data kind of in a batch mode, and usually these great new machine learning tools. Obviously, the tough part, depending on which one, you don't have to always have to have a data scientist who programs in the R programming language. Pro tip, learn Python. Python's the easiest programming language we can teach to kids, and it has math libraries that let you do that stuff too, which is interesting, just to geek out here a little bit. But machine learning is going to sit there and look at all the moving parts maybe in a piece of equipment you have and see them wearing down. And they're basically a scoring engine. And they're basically going to say something like, hey, you know what? I think that elevator of yours on this, in this building downtown is going to fail next Tuesday. And there's like an 80% chance it's going to fail. Maybe you should fix it before it fails.
I think so.
Apply that to everything in your enterprise. Anything that has moving parts that that wears down and fails, or instrument your buildings that you're in. HVAC systems, lightings, everything about your buildings, all your equipment, everything that moves. And then all of a sudden, you're not guessing anymore. Machine learning is going to tell you stuff.
Absolutely. So the world goes from a world of known unknowns to known knowns.
There you go. Well said.
There you go. So guys, Rob, Tiffany, I want to thank you for joining us. Remember his book, if you want some advice, practical advice that you can take into your boardroom, there you go.
Thanks.
Thanks for joining us.